sequence diagram for Kubernetes service discovery using environment variables shows how a pod locates and communicates with a service without relying on DNS. Here's a step-by-step breakdown. 1. Pod initialization. When the pod starts, Kubernetes injects environment variables into the pod's environment. These environment variables contain static information, such as the IP address and port of services in the same namespace. This injection allows the pod to have immediate access to the service's connection details without performing a lookup. 2. Static service information. The environment variables provide the pod with all the necessary IP and port details of the service. This approach is static, meaning it won't dynamically update if the service IP changes, but it's efficient for pods that don't require frequent updates. 3. Traffic routing via kubeproxy. Using the IP address and port from the environment variables, the pod sends a request to the service. Kubeproxy intercepts this traffic. Kubeproxy is responsible for routing traffic within the cluster, directing it to the appropriate service endpoint based on the IP. 4. Kubeproxy routing to service endpoint. Kubeproxy forwards the request to the correct instance of the service. This routing ensures that the request reaches an active service endpoint. 5. Service response. The service processes the request and sends back a response. Kubeproxy forwards this response to the pod, completing the communication flow. Summary. In this approach, the pod relies on environment variables for static, predefined service details. This avoids the need for DNS lookups, making service discovery faster but less flexible for changes. It's a straightforward method where kubeproxy manages the actual routing to ensure that traffic reaches the correct service endpoint.